In this video, I would like to explain briefly the mechanics of the TTA and its preoperative planning. The TTA is based on the assumption that the force from the femur to the tibia and vice versa is approximately parallel to the patellar tendon. It also assumes that the force follows the direction of the patellar tendon. So, if we direct the patellar tendon in a different direction, the tibiofemoral force will follow. Let's think about it for a second. Let's assume that the tibia is fixed to the ground and the femur is pushed towards it by the force of several muscles which cross the stifle joint. One of these forces, the one generated by the quadriceps muscle, is collinear to the patellar tendon. If the total force is approximately parallel to this force, then all other forces from other muscles and the weight of the animal must be in such directions and magnitudes that their sum is parallel to the patellar tendon. Well, this would be a big coincidence, but let's assume it happens. So to sum up, we have assumed not only that the sum of all forces from muscles crossing the stifle joint and the weight of the animal are parallel to the patellar tendon, but also that their direction follows the direction of the patellar tendon if we choose to change it. Let's be clear, neither of these arguments has been proven yet, but for the sake of the conversation, we will accept them as we have accepted them for almost 2 decades now. Moving forward, let's consider what happens when the femur applies a force to the tibia which is parallel to the patellar tendon. To begin with, we will make it easy for ourselves and consider the tibial plateau as a flat surface with no curvature. We will also assume that the contact between the two bones is frictionless. When an object pushes on a smooth, flat surface, as you remember from high school, the surface pushes back with a reaction force that is perpendicular to it, to itself. We call a force that is perpendicular to a surface normal to the surface. So perpendicular is normal in mechanics. However, the force the femur applies to the tibia is not normal to the tibial plateau because we assumed it's parallel to the patellar tendon, which is at an obtuse angle to the plateau. This means that the two forces, the force from the femur and the reaction force from the tibia, will not cancel each other out, and the femur will slip caudally on the tibia in the absence of the cranial cruciate ligament. So far, so good. Now I'm sure you have already found what we can do to stop the slipping. All we have to do is either change the direction of the tibial plateau, which is what the TPLO technique achieves, or redirect the patellar ligament using the TTA technique. We will be discussing the TTA techniques here. If we make the ligament normal or perpendicular to the tibial plateau, then the force from the femur to the tibia will also be normal to the tibial plateau because we assumed that this force follows the direction of the ligament. Also, the direction force from the tibia will be normal to the plateau because the plateau is a flat, smooth surface. So the two forces will cancel each other out, and the system will be in equilibrium. The femur now will not sleep. If we begin with such a system in full extension, then as the stifle flexes, the force from the femur to the tibia will tend to have a cranial direction, creating a tendency for cranial slipping, which is now prevented by the caudal cruciate ligament. And these are the proposed mechanics of the TTA technique. There is only one last detail we need to refine. Because the tibial plateau is not flat, it's curved. We said that the reaction force from a flat, smooth surface is normal to the surface. But what about the reaction force from a curved surface that is pushed by a curved object? Well, the methodology to find the direction of such a force is the following. Let's begin with the scenario where one surface is convex and the other one is concave. This resembles the contact between a ball and a bowl. We need to find a circle that will be the best fit for the concave surface of the bowl and another circle that is the best fit for the convex surface of the ball at the point of contact. Then we will draw the tangent of both circles at this point. This point is common for both circles because they touch at this point. So there will be a common tangent for both circles. We know that the tangent at the point is perpendicular or normal to the radius of the circle through that point. So the radii of both circles will go through the point of contact and both will be perpendicular to the tangent through this point. This means that the two radii are in the same line. We call this line, which connects the two circle centers, the common normal. The reaction force from one surface to another will be on that common normal, which is normal to the common tangent. Now, what if the two curved surfaces are both convex, mimicking the contact point between two balls? Well, we will do exactly the same, and then we will draw the line connecting the centers of the circles, which is the common normal. By the way, it's called the common normal because it is normal, i.e. perpendicular, to the common tangent. Now, let's go back to the TTA. When we plan the TTA, we want to redirect the patellar tendon to be perpendicular to the common tangent. That's what the guidelines advise. We know that the common normal is also perpendicular to the common tangent. So both the patellar tendon and the common normal will be normal to the same line. That means that the patellar tendon will be parallel to the common normal. So essentially, we don't need to draw the common tangent. All we need is the direction of the common normal. The patellar tendon needs to be parallel to that. We said that the reaction force from the tibia will be on that common normal. So we have now achieved the patellar tendon and hence the force from the femur to the tibia to be parallel to the reaction force from the tibia to the femur, which is on the common normal always. So we have achieved stability. But let's think for a minute about how we found the common normal. We used the model of a ball contacting another ball. So, all right, one ball represents the surface of the femur. But what does the other ball represent? Because we know that the surface of the tibia is not convex, it's concave. Now, if we look at the tibial plateau from a medial to a lateral direction, it does look like it is part of a ball or of a circle. You can see that better here on that model. And this is exactly how it looks on the mediolateral radiographs. However, this curve does not represent the surface of contact between the two bones. This is the curve we look at the X-rays, and this is where the bones contact each other. This means that to draw the common normal, we use a surface that does not take part in the contact mechanics of the two bones. So are we planning to make the patellar tendon perpendicular to a common normal which has a different direction than the joint reaction force? Or are we so lucky that we get the correct common normal using the wrong model on a non-existing contact surface? To make this clear, let's sum up. We assumed that the tibiofemoral force is parallel to the patellar tendon. We also assumed that it would follow the direction of the tendon when we change it with the TTA technique. Then we used the method of the common normal to find the direction of the joint reaction force, so we can redirect the patellar tendon to be parallel to it. But to draw the common normal, we used a contact surface that does not exist. So even if our assumptions on which the TTA technique is based are true, we have done the planning wrong. Now let's try to use the above to make some rational statements about the TTA. If the TTA has achieved stability on a case, then there are three scenarios I can think of. First scenario, the joint reaction force is indeed parallel to a common normal of two curvatures that do not participate in the contact mechanics of the bone. In this case, we were lucky to find this common normal by drawing one circle to find the surface of the tibial plateau as shown on the mediolateral radiograph, although this surface is not in contact with the femur. This means that if we had drawn the common normal using the ball analog, it would have resulted in the same common normal as the one we got by using the wrong model. So the joint reaction force is parallel, or it can be parallel, to the patellar tendon and to a common normal we have drew using the wrong model, but it happened to be the correct one. How lucky is this? Now, second scenario. Although we plan to redirect the patellar tendon to be parallel to the common normal, which we drew using the wrong model, we failed to do this or to execute it accurately because of surgical inaccuracies or because of planning inaccuracies. Our inaccuracies resulted in redirecting the tendon to be parallel to the actual common normal, which we would have found had we used the correct model. In this case, again, the assumption that the tendon is parallel to the joint reaction force is correct, but we achieve stability purely by luck. Third scenario, the redirection of the patellar tendon achieves stability even though it is not parallel to the true common normal. This would mean that our assumption that the tibiofemoral force is parallel to the patellar tendon is not correct. Again, due to luck, we achieved a patellar tendon direction that resulted in stability. I don't see any other options, and please, if you see any other options, comment on the video below. So, whatever we did it out of luck if we had achieved stability using the TTA technique. But the problems, unfortunately, do not stop here. When we draw the circles that fit the articular surfaces best, we must find the best fit for the curvature at the point of contact of the two bones, not the best fit of the overall articular surface, because the articular surfaces have different curvatures at different points. But how do we know the point of contact on a radiograph? Well, we don't. We use circles to fit the overall curvature of the articular surface, and hence the common normal we use is an arbitrary line that has nothing to do with the contact mechanics we have been discussing all this time. So overall, whether the TTA will be successful or not depends a lot on luck.